Hi, this is Ezra Royce. I'm with Vader TV with a segment of Lessons from Entrepreneurs. I'm here with Eric King, the Chief Marketing Officer of Clean Power Finance, and also a very successful entrepreneur in his own right from other ventures. So we'd love to hear some of your sort of key thoughts and some of the big rocks that you think about when you think about entrepreneurship.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't want to sound cliche, but I can tell you that when you're told that it's going to take twice as much money and it's going to take at least twice as much time to get to profitability, all true. Yeah. When you're told that having the right team in place and the right investors in place, even more true. Those are called basics for a reason, and any one of those is missing. It's not going to be a disaster, but you might have more troubles than you need.
Where have you found, for example, on the money side, entrepreneurs thinking about looking forward at their plans and their budgets and their models? Where have you found costs have typically been higher than you expected in some of the ventures you've been involved in?
Well, I think part of costs where they're generally higher is people tend to underestimate salary costs, right. Or conversely, they hire too many people. I mean, I know those are separate issues, but and then other things that you just don't necessarily think about if you've come out of a larger company. So what it costs to set up a phone system. There's $10,000 sometimes. What it might cost to get insurance. What that you're going to need a deposit for the lease. Right. I mean, things that actually you're also going to be probably struggling even to figure out how to do. Right. Because unless you've done it before.
As you've been ramping up Clean Power Finance, are there areas and things that you've really focused on this time around and said, this is a really important part of starting a company, and these are sort of first principles we hold true to ourselves as we're starting this company up?
Well, one thing is, don't hire anyone until you just can't keep your eyes open anymore. So, really be careful with what you're doing there, even if they're great people. Like in our case, a lot of the folks are doing, what you might expect, and they're working for a good chunk of it's for equity. And remembering that, and this is a mistake entrepreneurs often make, they're like, well, it's equity. It's like, well, equity's worth more than cash. I know you don't have any cash, right, and you got equity, but you just can't go sprinkling that around.
Hold on to your currency.
Right. Hold on to it. Hold on to it tightly.
Are there things in the past companies you've been involved with that sort of ring in the back of your head as big mistakes, as things you just don't want to do again? It sounds like hiring people, and I couldn't agree more. Hiring people and hiring very judiciously is a big one. Right. Are there other areas that you would say were sort of big lessons learned?
Yeah, I'd say and this is one that people have heard before, but be very careful about who you select as your investor. And that's no ding against the people that were the investors in our company. But in our case, they were 2,000 miles from us, and they had never done a pure startup before, and they didn't really want to do a startup. They had a number of investments. They wanted to do what we were doing, which was lead generation, but I think it seemed more they wanted to do it in-house. And so, it might be painful for a while, but you've really got to be careful. And you see this all the time when you see startups that have shut down or they're struggling, and then maybe you look at who's the investor, and it's a great VC, but they're just outside their space. And
so, as you look for investors this time around, are there certain attributes you're looking for that are the signals of a great investor for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I really want to see somebody who's been involved in a financial services company in some fashion. It could be a P2P play. It could be something that's completely web-based, like mobile phone, mobile payments. It doesn't have to be a bank, obviously. There's not many people that invest in those sort of businesses.
Sector knowledge.
Sector knowledge, and then also someone that can bring over. A lot of times what you're buying when you're selling your equity isn't just the money; it's the Rolodex, right? And it's the in-house. Some of it's in-house team, but more of it's the Rolodex. Like, okay, when that guy needs to help us, he can pick up a phone and call 10 people. Right. And that sort of thing. So someone that's got deep industry knowledge. And
so the first time around, conventional wisdom, the best investor is the one that never calls and is a long way away, actually isn't what you want. You actually want someone who's going to add some value and have an oar.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got someone who you dread seeing all the time, now
you've got another set of problems.
You've probably got internal problems that you don't want to talk about, that you probably should be very honest with yourself about. And actually, that if you wanted to, since we're talking about entrepreneurship, I mean, one thing that might be a little segue here, but you got to be really honest with yourself as to what you're actually accomplishing. And what I mean by that is, if you hear from 2 or 3 potential customers that they're not that interested, don't freak out. But if you hear from 20 that they are zero interest in what you're doing ever, I'm not saying you should be concerned, but you need to really be honest with yourself and
begin the freak out process.
Maybe a little bit,
yeah.
But just be open and be willing to listen to people.
Right.
I mean, because people want their problem solved, and they'll pay you good money to do that. Yeah. But make sure that your solution isn't a $400 solution for a $4 problem.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems that entrepreneurs have is finding the balance between being bullheaded and sticking with it and being open and adaptive. And I think that is a tricky balance for entrepreneurs.
It's a tough balance because you do have to be somewhat bullheaded and because you're going to hear no a lot.
Right. And
in fact, you're not even going to hear no a lot. What you're going to hear is nothing because people aren't going to call you back if they've never heard of you. Right. Depending on the channel you're selling into. But if you're selling into a channel of Fortune 500 companies, that's you have to be realistic in that the sales cycle could take a while. And if they've never heard of you, then you're going to have to find other ways to get in front of people.
Cool. Well, Eric King with Clean Power Finance, thank you very much for sitting down with us and talking about your experience with entrepreneurship. I'm Ezra Roizen with Vader TV.